The coaches are in. When you need a timely, transparent friend, tune into the coaches are in. Talking career, business, health, and wealth. You've got a friend now into the coaches are in. With authenticity, come on, let's take a seat and tune in.
All right, we are back.
Yay.
We are back. Another episode of The Coaches Are In.
Yes.
I am Dr. Cherita, creator of The Coaches Are In and CEO and founder of Powerhouse Coaching, where I support multiple six-figure Black women entrepreneurs as a business strategist and alignment coach. And essentially, I work with them to help them realign and thrive in both business and life so they can keep making money, have fulfillment, and joy, and make whatever their life priorities are a real priority. And their business supports that.
That's good. Support. I'm Dr. Malaika Turner. I am the CEO. I'm the founder of the Speaker LLC. And I'm also the host of the Pivot Podcast. I have the pleasure of being here on The Coaches Are In to help you with your confidence. My goal is to see you show up in the best way possible and to really tap into the greatness that's inside of you. So, tap, 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 tap.
And I am Allison Garrett. I am your behavioral interventionist. I work with professional women who struggle with knowing what has them stuck without years of therapy.
Wow, that's good.
Yes.
I always like that. Without years of therapy, you know.
Just the years part without years. Who's got time for all of that? Right? We need what we want now.
That's
right?
No time.
Yes. All right. So stay tuned for what we have for you on tonight's episode.
What's exciting is this next part of the show that we really dive in and help you, our viewers. So we have our viewer questions. So I'm going to read the question and just do our best. Just going to do our best. I recently realized something about myself. I tend to avoid difficult conversations and conflict because I'm afraid of confrontation. How can I get over this fear and start to address issues that impact me so I can move forward? Behavioral specialist.
I think I'm taking this question personal.
Because that's me, though.
That used to be me.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Okay. So I would like to first say that anything that you really want, your breakthrough is on the other side of a difficult conversation.
Wow.
So let's start with that.
Wow.
The way that you get comfortable and more comfortable is practicing. And it may sound silly, but you have to practice having difficult conversations.
Right.
And when I say practice, you can't start out with that hardest one that's happening, right? Like you're probably going to be shaken and just back down. But think about the simplest thing that might not seem as difficult, being able to speak to that. Because I think what happens here is you're identifying that you need to have them, but you're avoiding confrontation.
Yeah.
But that's assuming that there will be a confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to remind yourself that what you're telling yourself about that probably isn't true. Write out the conversation that you have to have. And identify what parts of that are most difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then write out what is your best case scenario from this conversation. And then write out the worst case scenario of this conversation. And lastly, write out what's most likely to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because wrapped up in that question is a lot of worry about something that you're anticipating that is probably not going to happen. So we create conversations that we assume will be difficult just because we really don't feel comfortable with having them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But if you map out worst case, best case, more likely, you've kind of already worked out in your mind how you're going to respond or what you're going to do about it. So it takes the fear out of actually doing it, and then just practice on the small ones.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, you were talking and we both agreed that this was us. and that fear, because she said, how can I get over this fear?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so this fear, and start to address issues. And I think, the question is like, what are you afraid of?
Mm-hmm.
And where is your confidence in addressing something that maybe it bothers you, or something that's hard, right? Something that's not easy. Like, where's your confidence, and what do you do to build that confidence so that you can, that's why I think your answer was spot on. As far as, I got to build some confidence, I got to practice having these conversations. And maybe I have to take this situation apart, because I know I would be afraid to have the conversation because I didn't want you mad at me.
Right.
That was that. And so if that is your issue, then that's worth acknowledging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why don't you want people, like, what has happened that you feel like, when people are mad at me, I feel this, and does that shatter your confidence or your ability to move forward? Does it stifle you? Does it slow you down? Does it make you diminish how you feel who you are and your worth and your greatness? I mean, all of that, of course, but I know that was something that the whole idea of, I don't want people mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to address anything that's going to be difficult.
Right.
But what happens on the flip side is you sabotage your feelings, your growth, your mobility, your ability to communicate, and to see things come out on the other side. You don't get to see what comes out on the other side when you stay over here, nestled into fear and worry and self-doubt.
Yes.
And unhappiness.
Yeah. So I would definitely add to that in terms of just identifying what it is that you're afraid is going to happen if you have this quote unquote confrontation or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I will also suggest that you reframe that you're not necessarily confronting an issue, because that word confronting has a negative connotation to it. Mm-hmm. You're not confronting an individual or having a confrontational conversation. You are trying to resolve an issue. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to have a conversation. You're trying to find resolution.
Right.
You're discussing. Like, it does not actually have to be confrontational.
Yes.
Right.
Nobody wants that. Like, not just
nobody,
her.
Nobody wants that.
Exactly.
So when you're practicing, because we all practice difficult conversations alone in like our mirror,
right?
Or in
But
our
we
car,
win
right?
all the time.
We win, but also let's be truthful here. Think about, what do those practice conversations look like? Mm-hmm. They look like
attitude,
right? And like, you know what I'm saying?
And
right?
Me
right.
over talking.
You always. You never.
Right.
Yes, but also you like coming up with these like quick sarcastic responses and things like that, and like
without
really,
challenge,
right? And but it's you having this perspective that it's going to be negative, and it does not have to be negative. True. But if you enter the conversation from that perspective, it likely is going to be, because the other person is going to feel that energy. And as much as you might even try to disguise it, it's still going to come through. You know how like you can like professionally curse somebody out, never say a curse word, but you really just told them about themselves.
Yes.
Right. Like you can do all of that. And then they're going to have the response that they have to that. So just reframe it. it's a conversation, it's a discussion, we're solving a problem, we're finding a resolution, and really focus on the goal of the communication, not the worst possible scenario. So if you're entering the conversation recognizing, like, this is what I want to accomplish.
Right.
And it's not necessarily I need to win the argument, right? But it really is ideally a win-win situation for both. Are you seeking clarity on something, understanding? Does something need to happen? Are you expecting a change in behavior? Like, what is it that you really want to accomplish from having the conversation in the first place? And then make sure that you are presenting or initiating the conversation in such a way that it leaves room for that possibility to exist.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And also recognize that it's a conversation. It's a two-way street, maybe more than two, but it's definitely not one. So the person you're talking to is going to have a part to play in that as well. So be open to hearing whatever they need to say about it as well. And practice de-escalation skills. So, because maybe they will have an off response to just having the conversation, even if you do everything right and appropriate. But it doesn't mean that the conversation can't still move forward. But you're going to have to learn how to not respond to their emotional response to you.
Bible says, "Be quick to listen and slow to speak, slow to anger." You just gotta listen.
Yes, it's also helpful when you're having a conversation that you anticipate is a difficult one for you. You could acknowledge that in the beginning of the conversation.
Right.
You know, sometimes it's helpful for the other person to receive it differently. If I said, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something. This is really, I felt really bad about coming to this, or maybe this is something that I've had a challenge with bringing up, or something that I've been thinking about a really long time, and I really want to, share these thoughts with you." So that the person's like, "Oh, what? Like, what is it?"
Right.
Now they're really listening to understand. And then by the end of the conversation, they can be like, "Why was that so difficult?"
Right.
So that, you can have confidence in going at it with that whole idea in mind and not reacting, but just having, having it and practicing it. And even when I say practice, even to the degree of, even if you're not doing it with yourself in the mirror, when something comes up that's kind of small, right? Use that as your practice. Like, shoes are left in the middle of the floor. This is a difficult conversation because I gotta have it all the time. Right. So that's considered like a smaller practice.
Right.
So you've ignored it, but today I'm not going to ignore it. Say, "Hey, you know what? Gotta have a conversation with you about something that I noticed. We talked about it before, but I just feel like I have to share and get it off my chest." Like, what is that?
Exactly.
Your shoes left on the floor.
Maybe don't add that part in.
See, now you're
But you know what? You're providing, you're challenging, or maybe it's expanding my communication skills, because maybe I'm a talker and I know how to talk, but when it comes to difficult conversations, I struggle. I clam up. I don't know what to say. That whole idea of like starting small, right? Some small topics is helpful.
Yeah, because then when it's a really, really, really difficult, you've at least gotten some under your belt. So now you feel better. And that even can open up communication between you and the other person,
right?
Where you're able to actually say, "All right, this time it was the shoes. Next time I feel better about having that conversation," because you shouldn't ever be in a position where you feel like you cannot express yourself or be heard. Like, your concerns deserve to be heard.
Right.
And if you have to do that by practicing, that'll give you the confidence to have those other conversations that may be a little bit more difficult, and maybe outside of the home, or with someone in the workplace, or just expands that. But if not, you're just going to keep doing what you're doing now, which is not having it at all. And you're like a stuffer, keeping things to yourself. That builds resentment.
Yes.
And then now you're angry. And when that next thing happens, you like explode. You're like, "What? It was just the shoes." It's no big deal.
That question about the shoes, and you just went.
You're like, "What?" Like, you just went off.
Right.
Because you have to, put yourself in those positions to learn. But like I said, everything that you want and desire is likely on the other side of what's considered a difficult conversation.
That's good.
Yeah. if I can kind of swing back around on that and talking about the goal of the communication, it's a simple thing to say, but I want to emphasize it because sometimes we have conversations just because we want to say something.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
right? You know, and you're not really interested in getting the other person's feedback on it, like really being a two-way conversation. You just want them to know how you feel,
right?
You know, or something like that. So if you're going to initiate these conversations, really know what the outcome is that you want, and it should not be like I need them to know that they hurt me, like.
Right.
So now they know it, and what? What what does that solve?
What does that mean?
Like, how does that make you feel better just because they know that they hurt you, right? Because what if they don't care? So now you probably
got nowhere,
angry, right? You're more angry now because they're like, okay, I hurt you, like,
and it ain't the first time, and it ain't gonna be the last,
right? Exactly. It's gonna happen. It's inevitable.
Yeah, so just be clear, because some conversations are necessary, some not so much so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And battles.
You know, even when you think about like the topic of forgiveness, and some people are like I can't forgive unless I have like this conversation with this person and I tell them, and it's just like, well, that's not your ability to forgive. Like, and it's just like it doesn't impact them. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. They probably either don't know they need to be forgiven, or they know and don't care.
Right. You just need to write that thing down and move on.
Right.
Burn it in the backyard.
I was just going to say that. Put it in an envelope and burn it.
Burn it.
Yes. But difficult conversations, they come in various situations. Like, I mean, it could be with your partner, it could be with your manager, it could be with your friend, your children, like, all these different scenarios. So if you are, if you need to initiate the conversation, I would just recommend that you know your audience, right? Like, use your emotional intelligence,
right,
and your knowledge of that person to hone your approach in the conversation. So if you know that certain words or phrases that you use tick your partner off,
don't start out with that.
Right.
Don't do it.
like I know you don't like when I say this, but I got to say it.
Right. Exactly.
No,
exactly. So just, expect the best out of the conversation, but show up as the best version of yourself for the conversation.
Ooh, that's good. Let's stop right there. Say that one more time for the people in the back. You know what? Think about this.
Show up.
How do you show up for a difficult conversation? We, in the beginning, we talked about the neck roll, the hair. That's
you take your earrings off.
Right.
It's
like,
is that
really your best?
We about to have this conversation right now.
First of all, that's not me. That's Malika Leak right there. Okay, that's not Dr. Malika. That's Malika Leak. That's not her best. She shows up every now and then. You know what I'm saying? But when you say show up as your best self, intentional, thoughtful, what's going to be the best outcome for both of us?
Right. And how do I best communicate what my challenges
Yes.
are? Because you're really not trying to upset that person.
No, I'm not trying to hurt you.
And it might be a difficult conversation for them too.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, being compassionate, recognizing that they may be surprised by what you're bringing up, like they may have no idea that there's an issue, and just be open. Be open for how the conversation will flow, and open to potential resolutions that you may not have thought of. But,
right.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
That's good.
So right now, I want you to think about that one difficult conversation that you need to have. And I need you to make a choice to determine when you're going to have that conversation and with who. Whatever that is.
And how you show up.
Get ready.
Yes.
Good.
All right.
I'm taking this all home.
You got your difficult conversation in your mind?
I got it in my mind.
I got mine too. What about you?
I have like 5.
Baby steps.
Yes.
Baby steps.
Yes.
The Speak Her LLC provides training, coaching, motivational workshops, keynotes, and more to clients who want to increase their impact. Contact us today.
All right, ladies, we're back for another segment of the Coaches Are In, and we have the Menopause Whisperer with us again, Dr. Deborah Roebuck. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me back again. It was a great opportunity.
Yes, yes. So we are going to continue this conversation about menopause, and we're going to continue with answering our viewer questions. But before we do that, Dr. Deborah, just tell them again who you are and what you do, just in case they missed you the first 2 times.
Okay, thank you so very much. My name is Dr. Deborah Roebuck. They call me Dr. Deborah, the Menopause Whisperer. For the last 5 years, I've really decided to no longer whisper about menopause, but to be an advocate, to be an educator around the issues of menopause. I want to encourage women. I feel as though at this time in life, you can go through this with feeling empowered, have ease, have confidence, and especially have style. So that's what I do with workshops and one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I do speaking engagements, and it's been really fun. Being this is post-retirement. I retired and I started back up again.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I love the work that you're doing, because as we shared in the other episodes, is we're just not talking about this enough. And even though, even those of us who have our mothers around, like we're not really having those conversations. It's almost like it's taboo, but there's no reason for it to be taboo.
None whatsoever.
Yeah. So we're going to continue the conversation today.
Okay,
We're going to get these ladies' questions answered.
Okay, absolutely.
All right. So the first question is there a natural cream regimen that would help with balancing hormones? So it sounds like this person doesn't want to like take any kind of pills or anything like that.
Okay. And you know what? More and more, I'm not only hearing women ask those questions, but more and more the doctors are making recommendations. For example, generally it was either hormones, hormone therapy, different creams, patches, what have you, or there were medications that originally were not for menopause, especially when you come to hot flashes or there's various medications for depression or whatever. But now it's alternative methods. Now, let me just say this to you. That is something you really, really need to talk to your doctor about, because it's not like the FDA has regulations on many of these different types, be it herbal or different creams or different diets or any of those things, because you don't know how it might interact with some kind of medication that you're on now. But let me just say this to you. This is moving towards this approach. For example, you can have different kinds of foods that have another level or a vegetable type level of estrogen that women are taking, or soy, or all these different things. But again, you need to talk to your doctor. I will tell people on the website, underneath governmental websites, go under alternative or complementary therapies. .gov. Let me tell you, any type of approach you might want to take, they will give you all the resources so that you can read, you can evaluate, because a lot of times the doctors are not aware of all these different things. Take it with you to your doctor's appointment and say, look, I think this is what I would like to have, but I got the article here. I want you to make sure that it's not interfering with any other thing that I'm doing or using in my life. And then that way they'll know what their options are. When I work with women, they'll tell me, various things, what they want, how they want. And I say, okay, let's do the research. We'll do this together. And let's look at what are some of your options. And the doctors are now much more willing to do so and work with you. And some of the doctors are fundamental doctors or are integrative doctors. So if your primary is that expertise, they could even more give you recommendations of what to use and how to take it.
Okay, good. So this next question is actually around the hormone replacement. They're wondering, is that still a viable, like valid treatment today? Or are there more modern and more effective treatments?
Well, first of all, the question is for the hormone treatment. Now, years ago, there was this study, and they are finding out now that pieces of this study didn't include certain populations. So everybody went to don't take hormones. That's not the therapy you want to go for. But now, we talked in the first session about research has not been done when it comes to women's health, and especially when it comes to menopausal health. But they're finding now that let's redo, let's revisit. And now they're even giving different types of hormone therapy where the doses might be much less. And so now the doctors are saying, okay, well, maybe this is what you should take. Or listen, you have a history of breast cancer. Maybe I don't think this is the way you might go. Or instead of taking pills, let's look at different types of patches or what have you. The options and the opportunities for hormone treatments has expanded tremendously. Okay. And that's what they need to give a great history to the doctors, because they're going to want to know, did your sister or your mother have breast cancer or what have you? They want to know that type of information. Give them good information about what's going on in your body. Just because some women say, well, I'm tired of the hot flashes, so therefore I need hormone treatment. Well, the doctor might say, well, let's look at A, B, and C first. Let's look at lifestyle changes first. And then let's see if you need this or if you need that. Sometimes they don't just automatically say, okay, we're going to put you on hormones.
Okay. And we may not want to just let that be the first step anyway.
Absolutely. And that's the truth. Say for example, if a woman says, I did a workshop and this woman came to me and she said, I know I'm going to have a hot flash. So right now I'm going to have my Coke, Pepsi, because it got caffeine in it. And I'm going to have my cigarette. I said, well, do you want to consider making a lifestyle change? No. So, because there's different things that will trigger. And once they make a change about how they want to handle it, maybe they won't need to take hormone, because if I stop drinking at this time, or if I stop, because a lot of women I get questions about, I have accidents in the middle of the night. Oh, when's the last time you had water or whatever before you went to bed? Oh, probably 10 o'clock at night. Well, maybe you want to shift that back to 8 o'clock and do whatever you have to do so you don't have these accidents. So that's why I say the conversation, the breadth and depth of who you are and what you experience will determine what the solutions will be for you, specific to you and your needs.
Right. Okay. So the next question is, I could have written this question. Okay. I didn't, but I'm glad they asked it. What can you do to prevent the sudden onset of belly fat?
Oh my goodness. Sudden onset. How sudden is sudden? Okay.
I think it's, so I'll speak from my own personal experience. It's, I've not been a 6-pack ab girl ever in my life, but in my late 40s, belly fat came on much more easily, and it leaves much slower, and it's harder to get it off. And I think as I've now crossed 50, I am definitely in that perimenopausal phase, actually praying to just get to menopause.
Okay.
At this point, because I've been in perimenopause for a couple of years now.
Right, right.
And it's I'm working harder, but not necessarily seeing the results associated with the level of work. Trying to make some diet changes and all of that, but like I know it's associated, and it's just like how do I deal with this, because I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it.
You're not
I want
okay
to feel a
with it.
certain way, but I want to look a certain way too.
Oh, okay, cool. And that's the reason why now, let's be honest, it might, and this depends on you or whoever the person is,
Mhm.
before, if you stop, just say, for example, eating certain types of foods and only ate them once a week or twice a week, you never gain weight. Now it's like, if I'm not going to gain weight, do I have to eliminate everything?
Mm-hmm.
Or I used to could say, oh, I'm going to the gym once or twice a week and I'm all right. Well, you might have to go and double up on that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's a difference too in exercise. It's a difference between aerobic versus stretching versus, building up your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe working out with a trainer whose expertise is in, especially when it comes to the abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to work with them to help you develop the right exercise, the right technique, and how often you need to do it. See, I'm going to tell you something. When we grew up, we tried to solve all these problems ourselves. My strategy now is, girl, I get resource coaches for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I need especially when I got breast cancer, I had to have a specific nutritional coach who works with cancer patients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Different parts of my body. I got a specific person. I had about 4 or 5 different coaches to work on all these different. We don't have to do this all by ourselves, because let me tell you, these movie stars or whoever, they all looking good. Do you really think they're doing that by themselves? Absolutely not. And you put your money where your values are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And don't think you're going to get things done overnight. You got to develop a habit.
Right.
And I tell people, pile habit upon habit. Like, give you quick insight, oh, I don't think I can do all of this. Yes, you can, but you I heard this example. They were trying to get people to floss. They had a group, they told them you got to floss all your teeth once a day. And they had one other group that says you only floss one tooth a day. Who was the most successful in developing the habit?
The one tooth.
The one tooth.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look for perfection. Develop consistency so you can develop the habit to get the outcome you want. How long did it take you to get to a certain point? Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm in the 200s, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If I can get to 199, I've been working on this a little while. Because as I'm aging, it's taking longer to get to that point.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But when you develop that habit, I started off with 2,000 steps. I'm up to 8,000 steps.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stop it, the weight comes on. I realized, I measured out, I saw that 8,000 steps doing that every day will maintain my metabolism so I won't gain weight. So it's an individual strategy because there's multiple factors,
right,
to get you where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm taking from what you just said is that the things that you do try, you have to do it long enough to be able to determine if there is actually a result. So going to the gym for a week or 2 weeks may not be enough for you to determine if this routine is working for you.
Absolutely. No, you got to put some time in. Okay, because you've already put time in on the other side.
Right.
To be able to see the change. Also recording this. making sure. I'm this Fitbit woman. I'm gonna tell you, I noticed the difference. And then, even for me to do this exercise, and then found out with sleep, if you don't have enough good sleep, you put on weight.
Mm.
And menopausal women are known to have issues with their sleep. It's not regular, it's not a good quality sleep. They're up in the middle of the night. All of these different things impact on gaining weight.
Mm.
Who would have thought? But the science is out there now.
Right.
Okay, so I got to sleep so I can gain, lose this weight.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that leads us to the next question, that with something that interrupts our sleep. Any tips for dealing with hot flashes and night sweats?
Oh, many, 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 many. Okay, let's talk about the difference between hot flashes and night sweats. Okay, you have a hot flash, all of a sudden you might get hot and what? Night sweats, you asleep and it wakes you up. It's much more intense. You're like, oh my God, what is happening here? The sweating is much more perfect. Okay, now during the day, how you dress? You know you're going to have a hot flash sometime, so maybe you're going to layer. Do you use, make sure you have clothes that are able to breathe.
Okay.
And especially even the underwear. Girl, now they got different kind of underwear that helps you cool down now. The things they're using now. Then two, do you have your fan near you? Okay. Have your little portable fan. Whip that thing out in your office. You have a little fan on the side of your desk. If you know the trigger is, if I have spicy foods, I'm going to have problems with a hot flash. You make a decision. Am I going to eat this spicy food, especially on your hoagie, having all this hot spice, whatever, or I don't want to have a hot flash like that today. Or if I do, I'll go home and have it I had my summer in the privacy of my house, not in the middle of a meeting.
Right. So is that a real thing? Spicy foods will contribute.
Yes.
Okay. So that's something I definitely need to be aware of because I love spicy food.
Oh, and I do too.
Yeah.
And chocolate. Some people start out with chocolate, or like I said, the lady with the Pepsi, caffeine triggers. Let me tell you, that's the very first thing you need to do. What are the triggers? Now, people say, well, Deborah, I can't have a piece of paper and writing this stuff down. Take your phone out and put on, text yourself and use the vocal text. Text me, and I'm having a hot flash, and this is how long it lasts, and this is how frequent it is. And go back and listen to everything to see what your pattern is.
Right.
See what your trigger is.
Now, could you do that kind of in the reverse as well? Maybe maybe I'm a coffee drinker and I like spicy food and something else is thrown in there, right? That will all trigger it. Just kind of maybe if you could discipline yourself enough to like eliminate those things for like a week and then see like, do you have any hot flashes, or if you do, are they less intense? And then maybe, okay, well, if you add one thing back, so then you can see, is it that thing?
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. I mean, they tell you that with food allergies. Take everything away and then add things back day by day and see what is the trigger. And I'm going to tell you something. As we get older, what used to trigger us might not trigger us, and what triggers us now.
That is. Yeah.
I mean, just think, when we get older too, our taste buds change. And so all of a sudden we're eating Brussels sprouts where before we didn't eat Brussels sprouts. Oh, that's nasty. Well, now we're doing it, but do we really know how that's impacting us?
Right.
Again, self-discovery. You're worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I love this part of the conversation because it really is focusing on how you can take control of what you're experiencing and improve it versus just going to, like I've been hearing a lot of conversation around, I think it's Black Cohosh or something like that. Like everybody's looking for what can they take to resolve the issue versus what can I do to resolve the issue.
And you're right, because we're in the microwave society. Or what you call the hot pot society. We want things, or air fry society. I don't know, but we want things, bam. That's not realistic. Okay? And the thing is, if we're talking about it's a possibility that you can at least live another 30, 40, even 50 years in postmenopause, take the time to investigate, almost be your own detective of who you are. Write it down, be able to review it, and then say, okay, what in my lifestyle can I alter, change, or improve? You know what I mean? Just like people don't like exercise. Well, let's look at a sport. Something you always want. Did you want to learn how to play tennis? I'm going to learn how to play golf. Okay, that's something. And of course, if I'm going to learn to play, I'm not going to eat a whole lot because I'm going to have these outfits that's going to be awesome, and I'm going to look good. You got to put all the positive things in there to motivate you so you can have wins, and you will have wins.
Yes. All right, just a couple more questions before we wrap up. How do I reduce the increase in headaches as a result of menopause?
Now, I've heard people say they have migraines during menopause. I would automatically, I said, what are you eating? What's triggering those headaches? Is it people getting on your nerves? Or is it food? Is it something you're drinking? Okay, because just like we spoke a few minutes ago, we got to tease that stuff out. We got to see exactly what it is. Did you go to the doctors? Did you talk to them about it? It could be something completely different, but you just happen to have it at the same time you're going through menopause. Sometimes people try to self-diagnose. And like I said earlier, you can't do all this by yourself, nor should you.
Okay. So go see the doctor, ask some questions. Yes. And then are there tips and tricks to help you focus through brain fog? And I'm going to assume with this, maybe the memory thing is attached to this. And I actually just first confirm for me that memory challenges is one of the signs.
Yes. Yes. And fog. Now think about this. Memories, I can't find my keys. Brain fog, I'm in the middle of a meeting and what's people talking about? I can't remember. Well, I'm trying to work my way through this. You know what I used to do? Because I think I told you I was administrator for the city of Philadelphia, and I used to run about 10 meetings a day. I had me a notebook, and I noticed for me, I would take notes. The notes would help me be focused. And I would ask questions. What are they asking? What's going on? What is the issue? But I'm gonna tell you, during the pandemic, I noticed exercise helped increase my endorphins and also helped me to process and get information better. Made a tremendous difference. Because I said, and I got Alzheimer's. I was asking all this. I'm like, oh my God.
Yes.
No, if you ask, you got Alzheimer's, you don't have Alzheimer's. It's okay.
Okay. Thank you for saying that.
And the other thing is, think about this. My doctor's husband said this. You have so much in your mind. You're doing so many things. When are you letting your brain open up a parking space? Your brain is like got all these cars in it, and you're not allowing any time for a new car to come in. So one of the things I did, I said, what things do I have to remember and what things don't I? Certain things, I'm not going to spend that time. I'm going to either send myself an email, and I do that in the middle of the night because I wake up, did I do so and so? I get on my phone, send myself an email. Okay. Or before I go to bed at night, I put all that stuff down so I don't have to stress myself. Am I going to remember?
Right.
And that's part of all that brain fog because you got all that stuff up in your mind.
Yeah.
And we work and do things and expects things to be accomplished and complete and done. Our expectation of our accomplishments, I think we need to bring it down. And one of the things I will say to people, if you do a task, give yourself a pause break to let your brain readjust, let your body readjust, and then start something new. If you get too crazy with all these things you got to do, you know what I do? I all of a sudden start cleaning because I ain't got to think. So I might be trying to deal with some multi whatever. And then I said, I can't think anymore. Let me watch 10 minutes of something on television. Give myself a break and give myself permission to stop. I'm going to tell you, or pause. When I tell people menopause, M-E dot, no, N-O dot, pause. I'm not going to pause in life. I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to cherish myself as I cherish other people in my life. I'm going to be my own best friend.
Good. Well, thank you for relieving my angst around whether, I mean, literally, like, I'm having this conversation with myself, like, do I need to ask the doctor to do some tests around? Because I don't know what's going on.
Cognitive test.
Yes. But at the same time, I kind of intuitively knew that it was associated, but it was still just like, it's so abnormal for me because I was the person who I could tell you, I talked to this person on this date and time several years ago, and this is what we talked about.
And you might can still remember that, but these new memories are a pain.
Right.
Making
now
new
my
memories.
husband is, I'm like, you didn't tell me. He was like, I did tell you that. No, you didn't. Cherita, yes, I did tell you that last week. And I'm like, I have no recollection of that.
And you know what I tell people to do now? Send me an email or text me. So I won't hurt your feelings that I forgot something. I love you dearly. Send me a text. Just so that I'll remember, because I'm trying to deal with so many different things, and you're such a great value to me.
Yeah. Good advice, valuable information, great conversation. I love it. And I hope that our viewers have gained a lot from your presence on the show and everything that you shared from your expertise and personal experience. I do want to make sure that they know how to connect with you if they want to further the conversation, get some guidance on, how to maneuver what is happening with them, or even for the husbands on the receiving side of all of this. So go ahead and share once again how they can connect with you.
Okay, I would say go to my website. My website is goingthroughthechange.com. Through is THRU.com. Okay. And on my website, you'll see things that I'm doing. I even have a button. You can schedule a time just to talk with me, and also the different events. So this has been a pleasure. I'm excited. I had fun, and I thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Deborah. I so appreciate you. Ladies, let's continue the conversation offline. Definitely be more open with the young women in your life about your experience, so they're not entering the situation blind, not knowing what to expect or how to deal with it. We have to change kind of the standard quo around what is happening here and make this menopause, like, bring it to light.
Amen.
and not suffer in the dark and in silence because we feel like we can't talk about it because we need to talk about it. Because any woman who lives long enough is going to go through it. All right, so that is it for this segment. Please stay tuned for what's next on The Coaches Are In.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Cherita Weatherspoon, the creator of The Coaches Are In, and on behalf of my co-host and I, Dr. Malaika Turner, and Coach Allison Garrett, we want to sincerely thank you for being a viewer and supporter of The Coaches Are In. In this season 2, at which we're at the end of, we brought some wonderful Black women to you by way of our guest experts, business and mental health therapist, Coach Seneca Williams, the Menopause Whisperer, Dr. Deborah Roebuck, our business funding coach, Cherita Foster. And then in season 1, we had mental health therapist Nicole Traylor, life and relationship coach Ava Laura Gaither, money coach Nashaya Richardson, and creative marketer Michelle Washington. We also introduced in this season 2 our community impact panelists, and we kicked it off with London from the London Advice Show and London's Lemonade Stand. And then we brought in Dr. Jasmine Jenkins, who is the Senior Program Director for Education and Advocacy at Bloomberg Philanthropies, and we talked about politics and how do we get active in that even if we don't really want to run for office. And then we also brought to you Charlotte Miller Lacey, who is the Executive Director of the MSK Community Center. And then we had our twin sisters, Lynette Shannon and Natasha Sims, who are breast cancer survivors and advocates. Now, we also featured Black women-owned businesses this season, and we introduced you to Lush Oasis Med Spa and Retreat right here in Delaware, and also Huckenbuck Farm Sanctuary, which is also in Delaware. And then also Candace Giles of A Savvy Soiree. She specializes in customized and personalized Christmas decor, where she'll come into your house and decorate it for you for the holidays. She'll even do the shopping for you, and she'll come back and break it all down and put it away. Also brought to you Ailika Follett, who is a wellness business coach. She specializes in helping wellness business owners to grow their businesses. And of course, we can't forget about our viewer questions. We had a variety of questions submitted for the past 2 seasons, really. And what you see here are just the questions from this season 2. But you can see that we talk about a number of different things, all in an effort to share from our own experiences and our expertise to help you prepare to and move to the next level in your life and business. And what's coming up is season 3, because at the time of this recording, we are just 2 episodes away from the end of season 2, and we'll be on a bit of a hiatus, and we'll be back for season 3. And in preparation for season 3, we want to put a shout out, a call out to all of you Black women, phenomenal Black women out there who are doing something great, to consider being a part of The Coaches Are In. So we are seeking subject matter experts. We are seeking to recognize and honor women who are making a community impact. We want to feature women and Black-owned businesses. And of course, we're always open to having sponsors. So there are some advertising opportunities as well. So to be a guest expert or a featured business on The Coaches Are In, you want to go to thecoachesrn.com/guest-expert and complete the form there, and then respond to our outreach. And then if you'd like to have your question answered on the show, or to recommend a community influencer, you're going to go to thecoachesrn.com/B-A-guest, be a guest, complete that form, and then also respond to our outreach. And we have basically just been answering the viewer questions by reading them on the air. However, there is an option to be on the show and having your question answered live if that is something that you're interested in doing, but we understand if you don't want to show your face and you don't want your name to be read, that is totally fine. We'll just read your question as we have been doing. Now, if you're interested in being a sponsor or advertising opportunities, you're also going to go to thecoachesrn.com/advertise, read the information, click the button at the bottom of the page, complete the form, and then we'll be in touch with you with more information. So we are excited to just continue this journey with you as we prepare for season 3. We hope to have more of you involved in what we're doing, and we hope that we can continue to make an impact for you in your lives and your business. Don't forget, the coaches are in.
All right, so we are coming to the close of this episode of The Coaches Are In, and I just want to remind you that we are reading Rest is Resistance, a manifesto by Tricia Hersey. And next week, on the last episode of season 2, it will be our final book club discussion. So we're excited about that. So if you have not gotten the book yet, there's still time. You might not be able to read it all.
I was going to say, you got to be a fast reader.
But get the book and start reading it. Participate in the discussion. Glean from it what you can. And for those of you who have been reading along with us, if you're interested in joining us for the live conversation, just go to thecoachesrn.com and fill out the contact us form or message us on Facebook or Instagram at thecoachesrn, and we will get back in touch with you. But we're excited about this final discussion.
Oh my gosh, it's wrapping it all up.
Yes. And we're excited that it's the last episode of season 2 because it means season 3 is coming.
Yes.
But we're also sad that it's the last episode of season 2.
We'll still pop in on y'all.
Yeah, well, we will pop in. But you know the drill, right? Go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like and share, show your support, and just, help us expand our reach and have more of our sisters being able to tune in and gleaning from these conversations that we're having. And then also, if you potentially want to be featured as a guest expert or have your business featured, or if you know of a woman who is doing great things in their community who you'd like to be recognized and share their story, go to thecoachesrn.com and fill out the appropriate form. And we'll see what happens in season 3. Yes. All right, so I guess that is it for this episode.
That's it. It's a wrap.
All right, we'll see you same time, same place next week. But for now, the coaches are out.